What's going on, guys, and welcome back to episode 5 of Mountain Bike Jumps, taking it back to basics. At this point, we've exploded up and over the top tube, and we're rolling the bike forward to create an arc. We're trying to make sure that we land front tire first and then setting our weight down into the bottom bracket. In today's episode, we're going to be working with the bump jump to try to perfect our J-hop timing. Now, how is this going to link into jumps? Way back in episode 1, I mentioned a key factor that goes across all mountain bike jumps, and that's your front tire is going to leave first, followed by your rear tire. So we're trying to perfect our timing from our initial wheel lift, leaving the very edge of the lip, to the time our rear wheel reaches the same point that our front tire left, and we can explode off of that point. So we're making the most of the lip, and we're not exploding early and jumping up the lip, and we're also comfortable performing this at different speeds. Some jumps you're going slower, some jumps you're going faster. So having what I call rear tire awareness is key to perfecting your mountain bike jumps. In episode 4, I mentioned that the lip of the jump is going to end up doing the hard work for you. Don't worry, we are going to start to talk about that in this episode. First thing you got to do is find something to bump off of. And today, I'm just going to use this piece of 2x6. The key is not to make it so small that you can't feel it, and not so big that it actually hinders you going up and over it. So we have our bump and our bike, and yes, you could use a route on the trail. Just make sure it's a single route that doesn't have a whole bunch of routes leading up to it, that you can be nice and smooth and be focused on your form. Next, let's quickly touch on speed. Let's keep our speed the same as it's been the whole time, about 5 miles an hour. We will talk about slowing down and speeding up and how that's going to help you dial in your form, but let's start slow, base. Where do you need to start all of these motions? Everybody's going to be slightly different. Before we have our first go, our goal is to have our initial wheel lift happen as soon as our front tire hits the obstacle. Then as we've got the wheel lift continued, our rear wheel should be continuing rolling towards our obstacle. Then as we start our explosion, and at the very second we're unweighting and we're going to take the bike with us, that's when our rear tire should be hitting the obstacle. You should be able to say bump, jump. Well, let's give it a go and see how she rolls. Well, I didn't say bump, jump, so let's do that now. Bump, jump. All right, everybody, let's break this down in slow motion like we always do. And because I want to show you guys close up, you'll notice as I enter the screen to the right, you'll miss a little bit of the early body weight preload or the kind of unweighting of that. So I come in, and right here, you're going to see me start to drop my body weight. Probably maybe a foot away from the object. And I'm timing this so as I start to scoot my hips back and initiate that front wheel lift, right there, this is going to help bump the front wheel up. And I can continue that front wheel lift. And then as my rear wheel is approaching, and this is usually about right at the time your bottom bracket is going to cross the object to when you should be exploding up and forward. So right as my bottom bracket passes by, I'm going up and forward. And then right here, I'm fully unweighted. And that's exactly when my rear tire jumps off of the object. And I pick the bike up and roll it through like we've learned in previous episodes. Making sure that my front tire impacts first, and then I can set my weight down into the bottom bracket. The major point of this is to learn how to keep your weight on this rear tire as it's rolling towards the same spot your front tire came off the ground, and using this distance to create rear suspension preload and your explosion. Having correct chest angle is imperative for you to be creating this counterweight just by slightly hinging at the waist. Now, if you're giving too much front wheel lift, gonna look like this. Bump. If you're over exaggerating the initial wheel lift, you'll find that your front tire is gonna grow too tall too quickly. And as you're pulling yourself back forward in your explosion, the front tire is gonna be too high and you're not gonna be able to actually pick the bike up because the front tire has risen so high. Right? I can't pick the bike up there. There's too much oomph in this initial wheel lift that by the time I start leveraging back up, that extra wheel lift that's added raises the front wheel too high for me to get an efficient explosion. I'm just trying not to loop out. So not overdoing the initial wheel lift is key. Let's have a quick look at exploding early and late. Let's talk about our timing for a second. If you're early and completely missing the object, you're gonna essentially be jumping up the lip and not using the lip to its full advantage. If your timing for the initial wheel lift is on, but your explosion is early, you're gonna find that your hips aren't getting tall enough over the top tube because you rushed through the sequence. And of course, if you're late, well, that's not gonna be good either. You want to make sure that both tires are hitting the obstacle. Maddie Cameo, down here by the creek for lunch. Just enjoying the time, right, Maddie? Yeah. Speed is also going to affect your form. If you're going slower, you're going to have to go through the motions slower. If you're going faster, you're going to have to go through them faster. Now, once you get the hang of this technique, you don't have to sit and practice it in this isolated area anymore. You can take it and use it during your whole ride, like jumping off this route all the way across those. Bump, jump. And these type of obstacles are everywhere. So you can practice on every ride. At the beginning of the episode, I told you I would share with you how the lip of the jump was going to take away the hardest part of the J-hop. And to practice that with progression, we've come to a roller. Now, this isn't the perfect roller for this. I'd really like one that's a little bit more arced and a little like kind of flatter on top. Not necessarily a tabletop yet. The goal of the small roller is to help us get comfortable doing the J-hop going through a small transition. So we're just not throwing ourselves at a 5-foot transition right away. If you'd like to take it a step farther, and you want to incorporate the bump jump into J-hopping a roller, go ahead and throw a stick right at the top where it stops going up and it starts to flatten out. And this can be your indicator for your timing. Quick safety tip, the smaller your roller, the slower you need to go. You don't want to be jumping off of one roller and into the backside of the next. Again, the goal of the roller is to get used to performing the J-hop kind of going through transition. And this transition is what aids you in the initial wheel lift and wheel lift continued. Because as you're initiating the front wheel lift, your bike is already at an upwards angle instead of flat. So the initial energy you put in is gonna have to be a little less. The hump of the roller is going to help you to create your arc and get used to putting that front tire at the angle of the landing. And this is where having a slightly larger roller will help you catch more backside of the roller instead of kind of landing in this trough, which does create a little bit of a harsher landing. But it is good to learn how to do that. So it's a good progression. Notice that I'm going through my body weight preload and weight shift as I'm going through the transition. And chest position is still super important. Picking the bike up, taking it with you, creating that arc. landing solid into the bottom bracket. We're really taking this extra step, so when we go to an actual jump, we're a little more comfortable with transition, because accepting the transition gives people the most difficulty. Well, everyone, that's gonna do it for this episode of Mountain Bike Jumps Taking It Back to Basics. And we're perfecting our timing using the bump jump and then using a small roller to get comfortable getting in that back seat, going up transition, not just off flat ground. And don't forget, you can use that bump jump all over the trail. You can be jumping everywhere, and you'll build the muscles that you need to be able to bunny hop stronger and longer. In our next episode, we're gonna take this to the jumps. We're gonna start with a small jump and see how the timing works. If you enjoyed this episode, let me know in the comments. And always make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We're gonna hit 10K this month, everybody. Thank you so much. If you wanna make sure this channel continues to grow, please become a Patreon. I say all the time, they are the true sponsors of the channel because I get paid shat from YouTube. We're the only small content creator that I know of that's got a full downhill race schedule to take their audience on. Now, if you want to support this journey and see that content happen, please become a race sponsor. Your name will go on my jersey. It's $100. It helps with food and gas. We're trying to take you to different venues and show you the racing community and my struggles as a 40-year-old trying to get back up to speed. You can also join the team, get your own jersey with your name on the back. All the details are in the video description. Now, like I always say, guys, ride hard, ride safe, be kind to each other on and off the trail. If I see you out here, please say hello. But until the next time, guys, rubber side down.